Alright, let's get into it. So, it's not often I get proven wrong, and this might be shaping up to be one of those times. Let's start from the beginning. Apparently, I have a masochistic streak, because that's the only reason I can think of to justify why I decided to pick up Fort Wing. Unfortunately, I can't say I came into this one without any biases, but yeah, let's get into it. Fort Wing, the TikTok darling, the book everyone calls the Hunger Games with Dragons, and apparently the next big thing in fantasy. Now, if you've been around long enough, you know that that's quite the pedestal to be placed upon, and every week someone falls off that. I will shoot with you. I didn't think much of this book, nor was I eager to read this book. Not out of snobbery, but maybe a little, but mostly because the last time I read a book this hype was Shatter Me, and that book shattered the hell out of me, alright? But the hype was relentless. I said, well, I wouldn't be a booktuber if I only reviewed stuff I like now, would I? Well, I would, but I psyched myself into this. And it's exactly what I thought it would be. Now, before you start wailing, and crying, I actually did enjoy the book to some extent, but I digress. Let's start with the setup. Violet Sorrengail, our underdog protagonist, is a fragile girl with silver hair, shoved against her will into a brutal dragon riding academy where apparently the survival rates are low and everyone's beautiful and brooding. Within the first few chapters, she's dodging assassins, she's falling for enemies and conveniently attracting the attention of the most powerful dragon in the school because of course she does. Now, I don't want to come off like I'm above a fun, trope-heavy story. I like Summer Astrology and Underland Chronicles, and the later I've read multiple times, and by the time this video is out, I probably would be reading it yet again. I've read Sonita more than once. I love spectacle, I love tension, I love protagonists backed into the corner. But Fort Wing, I don't know. There's danger, yes, but it feels synthetic. There is some depth, but it's pretty much sanitized. There's politics, but nah, scratch that. You can't really call that real politics. Everything is fast, it's loud, it's emotionally heightened, yes, but it seldom does feel earned. Violet herself is fine, best way to describe her. Not terrible, but sure shit not compelling either. She's clever in that quirky way that all the rage now, think Faye from Akota, that's A Crown of Thorns and Roses apparently, Katniss, and after a few like therapy sessions, or Celine from Throne of Glass, but with some chronic health issues. The book says she's weak and underestimated, but the narrative does bend over backwards multiple times to protect her. She conveniently survives multiple assassination attempts. She earns the most powerful dragon's loyalty, and of course, she gets the guy. Ah, yes, the guy. Speaking of the guy, Zayden Royson. Look, I get it. Some people love the tall, dark-brooding archetype, but for me, this guy is the most cliche of all things cliche. He glares, he does the smirking thing, he says cryptic things while quite literally leaning against doorways while they describe how big his biceps are. There's the illusion of depth, right? There's a tragic backstory, there's a checkered loyalties, but it all feels like window dressing. He's not interesting. He's meant to be something young girls can fantasize about, and I can see that creating very troublesome expectations in the future. And yes, the romance does take center stage. If you came here for politics, world building, or a well-developed magical system, good bloody luck. The magic system is like dragon bonding meeting elemental power, which is fine, but not really explored. The dragons, while better than expected, are basically still reduced to plot device or sometimes comic relief. And the world beyond the college, well, vague, distant, convenient. But though I can see why that might be the case based on the build-up to book 2 from what I've heard. Now, what frustrated me most is how Fort Wing mistakes speed for tension. Now, the pacing is relentless. Not because the stakes are high, but because the book never stops throwing things at you, right? Assassinations, duels, dragon trials, romance, secrets, betrayals, cliffhangers. Everything is life or death until it isn't. It's exhausting. But there are years, and here you are. Now, here's why I hate to admit it. The book actually does a few things right. So if you're waiting for the part where I eat my words, you can go ahead and start salivating. Because as much as I would love to chop Fort Wing into the pit of overhyped, trope-reading fantasy trash, there were moments where I found myself enjoying it. Not loving it, but like, I can respect the hustle. Let's start with the obvious, the pacing. The book moves like it's being chased. There's no lingering description of trees, or no long-winded consummating soliloquy, just pure, well-shaped chaos, let's put it that way. It feels like somebody down 3 Red Bulls and just smashed the go button. And while usually I prefer my fantasy to slow cook in law and moral ambiguity, I'll admit this kind of breakneck speed does have its appeal, especially when your brain is too fried to read another sentence about the economic system of a made-up kingdom. And I will give Rebecca Yarros credit here. She does know how to create seemingly somewhat okay stakes. Like, the characters actually die. Like, people you might have started caring about. It's not a slaughterfest, but it's enough to keep you on the edge of your seat. There's a kind of Hunger Games-esque roulette spinning in the background that gives you the feel of danger. Even if most of it does feel manufactured, still the tension works. You're constantly wondering who's going to get off next. And that counts for something. Now, let's talk Violet. I know I said she's not compelling, and I do stand by that. But she's not a total failure either. She's got chronic pains, brittle bones, and a whole other set of health issues. But she has a brain she actually uses. That's true enough in this genre to warrant a slow clap. She doesn't miraculously become a sword-swinging beast overnight. She schemes, she adapts, she survives. And in some places, she poisons characters. And, of course, I'm not trying to spoil it, but I do have to respect that level of ingenuity, of not going the way most stories go now, of macho woman or trying to beat it all. And for protagonists in a story like this, that's honestly refreshing. At least they didn't make her more powerful than everyone else overnight, right? The build-up was somewhat sensible. Then there's the romance, which again is absolutely center stage, and yes, it's designed to make book talk fans scream. But to be fair, the slow burn tension is kind of fire in a sense, if that's your thing, right? So if that's something you lean into, then yeah, I can understand you wanting that. I can understand you loving that part, and I completely get it. Now, I will deny this outside of this video, but Violet and Zayden have a kind of sharp, spark flying dynamics that's predictable as hell, but weirdly satisfying. Again, if this is your gig, I may not share the appeal, but I get it. Is it emotionally nuanced? No. Is it healthy? Definitely not. But does it make you want to keep reading? Well, yes. The dragons were probably my favorite part. And no, not just because they were dragons, but these ones actually have personalities. Time, for example, feels like a grumpy old uncle who just happens to be a war machine. A bit of an eye roll vibe. They don't feel like glorified pets in a show like The Game of Thrones. They have their own rules and opinions, and to be honest, they've just got that dog in them. They don't answer to anyone. They won't take crap from humans. That's a bit refreshing to see, I'm not gonna lie. I also get why people call this a gateway fantasy. If you've never picked up anything more complex than Throne of Glass, this feels like a massive epic. It gives you just enough magic, intrigue, and rebellion to feel like a proper fantasy without asking too much of your brain. It's like the starter Pokemon of fantasy novel. Easy to love, impossible to train into something deep. And alright, I'll be honest, the emotional arcs do land for a lot of people. Even at the point where I found the story originally shallow, I could see why readers were connecting. Violet's grief, her messy friendships, her fear of being powerless, it's all dialed up to an 11. But it's something. There's some sincerity, some spectacle of sincerity there buried underneath the tropes. I'm guessing some people might have said they have a deep love for it. I won't say I did. I mean, some people say they were moved. I wasn't. I'm not sure I don't get why they are, but I can see some of the value in it. Now, don't get excited. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm not saying it's trashy either. And believe me, that's seen a lot. So, am I reading book 2? Yeah, unlikely. But honestly, that depends on you guys. If you guys push for it, I probably will. I probably still might not, because there's only so much I can do for the love of other people. But until then, the light shut out.